Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today's video I will be painting Lisa Trevor from the Resident Evil board game by Steamforged Games. This was a Kickstarter board game that was crowdfunded and recently released. When I say recently, a few months back now, but I've been working my way through the main game models, characters and monsters. Now it's Lisa Trevor's turn. So before we get into it, if you would like to support my channel and if you like what I'm doing, please feel free to click on the link in the description. That will take you to my PayPal page, and if you would like to donate, please do, and that will help improve the quality of videos in the future. So with Lisa Trevor here, she was washed and scrubbed in a bowl of warm soapy water. That's to get any release agent off from when they were inject molded. So that's important to do because paint doesn't tend to stick to it if not. So yeah, do that first, and then it was sprayed in Brainmatter Beige from the Army Painter line of spray cans. And if you're spraying, make sure you're in a well ventilated area because the fumes can be quite dangerous if inhaled. So yeah. So what we're going to do first is, I think we're going to do her flesh first because that seems to be quite an important part and large part. So we're going to go in with Rakarth Flesh. She's going to hit her arms, her legs, where her gown's been torn here, and on her back here there's like an eye and some growths, so I'm going to base coat them in Rakarth Flesh first. So yeah, and I think there's like a slit in the mask where you can see her eye, so we shall paint that as well in Rakarth Flesh. So give our paint a good shake and get the brush and get started. I quite like Rakarth Flesh because it comes out as quite good dead flesh sort of colour. So yeah, so just slap that on. So again, I said her arms, her legs, her back, anywhere the gown, her gown is torn, and like in the face mask she's got, you can see just here her eye poking through. So just paint that as well like that. If you're undercoating over the same spray paint as I am, it should only need one coat, but if you want to do a second coat, that's fine. Just keep your paints thinned using water. So yeah, I'll get this finished and we'll be back. Okay, so that's her skin done. So with that done, we're going to go in with Administratum Grey, and this is for all her her gown, so her torn gown. So unfortunately my paint is almost dry, so I have to reach into the bottom just to get a decent bit out, but I'll water it down a tad. Again, we want to put thin coats on, so 2 thinner coats watered down is better than 1 thick coat because it saves the detail. So yeah, I think the story for Lisa Trevor is quite tragic, if I remember rightly from the game. She's the daughter of a researcher, I believe. Her and her mother are experimented on. The mother dies, and yeah, Lisa is left to wander the grounds of the Spencer Mansion, preying on those that come close. So yeah, it's a sad story. She was only a little girl when she was infected. I believe she hangs around for quite a while. So yeah, we'll get the gown finished and I'll be back. Okay, so the her medical gown, or her gown is just drying. So we're going to the next step. For this, we're going to use Cadian Fleshtone, and this is for the gruesome mask she wears, which I believe is the mask and the flesh and the face of her mother. So less tragic, more horrific. But yeah, let's water that down a tad on our wet palette, and we want to just start filling that in. So if we fill into there, there's this bit here which I believe is hair. So if we just fill in the bits that are flesh first, like that. This may need 2 coats, but it may not. Come around here like this, like so, and just fill it all in. Just be careful not to hit remember the slit where she's looking through. We want to try and keep that different colour, like so. Just poking her eye out while she pursues her victims throughout the mansion and the grounds beyond. So we'll get that finished and we will be back. With her grotesque face mask being drying, we're going to go in and paint the shackles around her restraints around her arm, her hands, her wrists, and for that we're going to use the contrast Gore Grunter Fur. See how this turns out. I want it a bit darker. This might need 2 coats. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you want to maybe see a playthrough, or like I wouldn't know how to film it, but I can give it a go. I've got a couple of friends that want to play it as well, so it'll be a 4-player game. Will be odd film. Obviously starting off with the normal 4 characters and then spreading into the mansion as we find more heroes. We'll change up and I'll paint up the other characters. But yeah, let me know if that's something you'll be interested in. Like I said, I'm not sure how I'll film it yet, whether I'll just do snippets of it and then explain what's happened, or just leave it filming to catch reactions in real time. But we'll see. Yeah, I'll get this finished and we'll be back. Okay, so that's the shackles around her wrists done. Next we're going to go in with Black Legion, and this is for her hair. So the bit of the back that we left blank, we're now going to hit with Black Legion. So, see this bit here? This will most definitely need 2 coats. And be very careful here because dark colours are harder to correct than light ones. So yeah, use a thin brush for this. And just be ever so careful where the brush lands. Eventually you want something that looks like that. There's a few strands dangling there. But yeah, I'll get that finished and we'll be back. And finally, the final base coat of this lovely mini, we're going to do Leadbelcher, and this is for the chains around her ankles, and on the shackles here, on the arm restraints, there's bits of like the padlock there is going to be Leadbelcher, and like these bits on the corner here are also going to be Leadbelcher. So give it quite a shake. I find you have to give metallics much longer shake, because otherwise it gets a bit runny and doesn't mix up properly. So on this, I'm going to do this. Then on the front here, I've got these bits here, and this bit here, and this bit here. And then obviously the ankles. Right, so and the chains that are broken. Like that. I'll get that finished and we'll be back for the next step. Okay, so that's all the base colours done. So now we're going to start with the shading. So I'm only going to use two shades here, main shades. We're going to use Nuln Oil for the shackles and the robe, and then for the flesh we're going to use Reikland Flesh. I will later be using a bit of Agrax Earthshade to dirty up the mini, like the robe and stuff, to make it look a bit more worn and torn. But we'll start off with Reikland Flesh. Make sure you give these a good shake, lest your minis come out shiny after a wash. And this is going to be all over her flesh, her mother's flesh. Like so. We don't want it to pull too much, so if there's too much on a mini, just dry your brush and soak it away. Soak it up with the brush. Once you put it back on, I'll show you like that. Too much there. Dry the brush off. And then just soak it away, and then move it to another part of the model that you want painted. Yeah. And then, yeah, we want it on this bit here, on Alicia's skin. So, yeah, I'll finish that and we will be back. Okay, so the Reikland Flesh shade has dried, so now we're going to go in with Nuln Oil, and this is for her her robes and her shackles. So we just want to, we don't want it to pull too much, so we just want a nice covering like this. And yeah, be careful not to have it spread over the other parts of the model, only where we want it to go, so try and avoid the fleshy areas. But we'll finish that and I'll be back. Right, so all the washes are complete on Lisa Trevor here. So what I'm going to do is go back in with Cadian Fleshtone and pick out the that highlighting her mother's flesh that she covers herself in. I just want to fill it in, leaving some of the darker bits, like the recesses, still quite dark. So you want a thin brush for this because there's a lot of detail on this mini here. So we'll get that done and we'll be back. So that's done on them, on her. Next up we're just going to do the highest points in Kislev Flesh. We want to be quite sparing with this. We don't want it to change the overall aesthetic, so we want it only very slight highlights. Otherwise it might be a bit overpowering. So the highest points of each of the folds
around the nose and the mouth of the skin, and the ear as well. This way. Make a mistake, just brush it off with a finger. Be quite forgiving. Let's do a little bit more at the top because that's where most of the light will land. And like I said, around the ear here. That's there. Look at that. That's probably it, but we'll go to that stage. Next we're going to go in with Skrag Brown, and this is just to catch the highest points on her wooden shackles. So just run your brush along the edge like that, and follow some of the wood grain. Some small lines, little lines like that. And then along the bottom there. So, and just catch those bits of the wood grain. Like that. Don't have to put too much in, but just enough to make it look like you spent some time on it. There you go. Okay, so next up we're going to go back in on her actual flesh with Rakarth Flesh. And this is just to bring that base colour back. She's got loads of wounds and stuff, so we will be going in with some other paints to accentuate some of the wounds she's got. So like that. Just start to pick out the flesh a bit more. Get that finished and we'll be back. Okay, so next up we're actually going to stick with Rakarth Flesh but add a tiny bit of Flayed One Flesh to it. And this is just going to be our final highlight of the skin. So I'd say maybe a 70-30 mix. 70 being the Rakarth Flesh, 30 being the Flayed One Flesh. We don't want it too overpowering again. So this is just going to be the tops. Oops. That's that. Just hitting the tops of the highest parts, the sharpest edges, the ribs there, not all of them, and then just so. And on the back of the legs, so don't have to go mad with this. Little's more. Alright. Okay, so next up we're going to just highlight the shackles again with Leadbelcher. Again, using a thin brush for this. Right, so don't have to go mad with this. And the chains on the back like that. Don't forget the padlock. There you go. So next we're going to highlight her clothes. So we're going back in with the base colour Administratum Grey, and this is for all the clothing. I want to make sure we keep the darkest recesses still quite dark. So just want to run this over like so. Fortunately my paint's almost dried out, so I had to water it down a bit just to get a little bit out, but just fill it in, like I said, keeping the darkest recesses with the Nuln Oil still in it. I'll finish that and we'll be back. Next step, I'm going to add Ulthuan Grey to the Administratum Grey, sort of a 50-50 mix. And this is just for the highest points, the sharpest edges, and where the light will most likely fall. Mix that in with Administratum Grey like that. And just top it just like that. So okay, so now the next step is another little bit washing. Instead of, this is more of a focus wash, so instead of the whole mini we want to just focus on certain points of the mini. So for this we're going to use Carroburg Crimson, and this is to simulate like the red damaged skin. So we want a bit around her wrist, I'll feather it out almost, we don't want too much on there. Let's say sort of dab instead of brush. That seems to leave a nice effect. And then the wounds on her arms, like so, and then this arm. Got quite a lot of scars, old scars and stuff. You want to put some on the inside of red on her ribs, the deepest parts of that. So we want to put a bit of red on the seams of the mask, so where they've been stitched together, where the skin's been torn, re-stitched like that. Don't want to put too much, but just enough to make it give a bit of variation in the colour. Like so. Yeah, I'll get that finished and we'll be back. Okay, so the redness has been brought out on that. I think it looks quite good. Next we're just going to go in with a little bit of Agrax Earthshade, and this is again a similar technique. We just want to dirty up her clothes a bit, so in the deepest parts like here, so dab it more than anything. Doesn't have to be all over, just here and there. Signify how long she's probably been wearing these dirty rags for years. The back there, around the creases, like so. Don't have to go too mad, just gives a bit of variation to the colour. Maybe the underside, like the where sweat patches might be and that sort of stuff, where she's dragged crawling along the floor or something. Yeah, just do this bit here. Yeah. Okay, next we're going to go in with Casandora Yellow, and this is for like all the pussy bits on the back. So I'm just going to give that a yellow sort of wash or glaze, just to give it a sickly yellowy look, like so. And then these ones here as well, like so. Gives it like a sickly, horrible, yellowy tinge to it, which I quite like. Yeah. And finally, highlight to her hair, which is going to be Dark Reaper. Don't want to do too many highlights on the hair, because I figure it's meant to be like horrible and greasy. So just do a very thin highlight on the hair. And I think that is more or less Lisa Trevor finished. Oh, just got to do her eye, and then we'll be done. And for her eye, I'm just going to go in with Averland Sunset. Just going to do the whole eye yellow. See how that turns out. So careful with this bit. I mean, you don't have to do the eyes if you don't want to, if you're a bit worried that you might ruin it, but it does add quite a bit to it if you do. Although I'm not making a very good job of this, so I might have to wipe the paint away and start again. But you get the idea. And finally, it's not a Resident Evil model without a little bit of blood splatter. So for this we're going to use blood for the blood god. And we're going to just get a little sponge. And we're going to be very sparing here, so we don't want too much. We get rid of the majority of the blood of the paint off the sponge by dabbing it on a bit of paper. And sort of just dabbing it on like that. Don't want to be too overpowering. Just to add a little something to it. That's it. Get a bit more in that middle bit. There you go. And there you have it. Lisa Trevor. The skulking horror. The one that follows you and makes you feel uneasy. From what I remember, she's unkillable unless she jumps into the chasm, from what I remember. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope you like this painting video. If you do, please, and you can afford it, please help donate to the channel, because anything on there will really help me get better lighting and just improve the overall quality of my videos. But yeah, that being said, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Happy painting.